Hello. How are you? Today I'm back to my usual bookish business, and I'm going to do something that probably hasn't been attempted on BookTube before. Or maybe it has, I don't know. I will be attempting to combine every book haul I've been on for the last 2 months since my last book haul, which is tragically short compared to the one that I'm about to do now. This may also be the longest book haul you'll ever see from me. We'll see how well that sentence ages. And we'll also see if I can make it to the end of this book haul without my new friend falling off my head. He already has a name, but I'm still taking suggestions. If you're new here and you like books and chaos, I post new videos every Monday, so if you're interested, be sure to like and subscribe, and strap your butts in. This took way too long to film, help. Now, I believe these are all the books I got, but I have a feeling I missed a couple. Anyways, the first book on this list is Priest of Lies by Peter McLean. This is the second book in the War for the Rose Throne series, book 1 being Priest of Bones, which I loved, and did a review on. The story follows a con man turned army priest who has to rebuild his criminal empire after the end of a brutal war. But there's a lot more at play than there seems to be on the surface. I've always had a gravitation towards darker, grittier things. I think you can guess what that looked like when I was a kid, but I digress. Bonus points because it's set in a world that's not unlike the Industrial Revolution, which is one of the periods of history that continue to fascinate me. It's the Industrial Revolution, what more do you want? Aside from the setting, I also really enjoyed the characters, and while the main character Thomas is the only POV, his voice is still very distinct and very enjoyable to read. I talk about this more in my review for Priest of Bones, so check that out if you want to know more. Next up, we have Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. This is a standalone heist novel, I believe, and it's been on my radar ever since I saw it on my Instagram feed a couple months before its release. The main character, Will, is a senior at Harvard who is approached by a mysterious benefactor with a very illegal job offer. Steal back 5 priceless Chinese artifacts that were looted from Beijing centuries ago. Will recruits 4 others to pull off the heist, and if they succeed, they get $50 million. But if they fail, not only will they lose everything, but it will also mean another thwarted attempt at taking back what colonialism has stolen. I saw this being plugged on Instagram, and I thought it looked cool, and I was very pleasantly surprised when I found out that not only is it a heist novel, which I've been a sucker for since reading Six of Crows, but it's also a critique of colonialism and how Western museums usually display things that may as well be the spoils of war looted from other countries. And, as I'm sure we all know, colonialism is cringe. I'm not Chinese myself, but as someone with Asian ancestry, I am very much looking forward to reading this nonetheless. Next up is the first volume of The Eminence in Shad. Oh wait, it says Shadow, never mind. This is the first volume of a manga adaptation of the light novel series of the same name. And I think it's also getting an anime soon. No release date yet as far as I'm aware. The main character, Sid, has dreams of becoming a mastermind working in the shadows, as opposed to a protagonist or a final boss. After being reincarnated in another world, he takes the opportunity to act on his dreams, but unbeknownst to him, his imaginary adversaries and whatnot may or may not actually exist in this world. Plot twist. I don't know why, but this dude is giving me the same energy as Shun Kaido from The Disastrous Life of Psyche K, considering both of them believe in imaginary dark forces and are low-key, high-key, kinda delusional? Like, it's kinda disturbing. Oh god, imagine if these two met. Anyway, I encountered the series a few times at the bookstore, but getting a proper look at the synopsis is what ultimately got me interested. Bonus points for the delicious cover art here, which is hopefully some indication of what's to come. I'm not really into the being reborn into another world trope that's been taking the light novel side of the industry by storm over the last few years, but I am willing to take a chance on this, so hopefully I'm not disappointed. Next up, I have a big boy monster of a manga volume, and that big boy monster is called Levious. My brother in Christ, where is your shirt? Can I get your gym membership, though? At about 670 pages long, this may very well be the largest manga volume I currently have in my possession, quite possibly eclipsing my copy of the first omnibus of Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle, but I digress. In an alternate 19th century, the world has entered the era of rebirth following a devastating period of war. Since then, mechanical martial arts have taken the world by storm, and the main character, Levious, is one of the many fighters who turn their blood into steam to gain the upper hand in the arena. So, funny story, I was very excited to get into this series because of the premise and the juicy, delicious artwork, but in my wisdom and my intelligence, I got the sequel series first without even realizing it. I am so glad I put off on reading it before that realization, because holy crap, that would have been bad. This manga also received an anime adaptation in 2019, I think, and it's currently on Netflix, but I haven't seen it yet. Because, not gonna lie, the visuals in the anime kinda look like crap. Like, the translation in visuals between what's on here and what's on the screen make it make sense. But interesting premise, spicy art, cybernetics. Now that's hot. Next up, we have I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetis. This is a YA historical fiction novel set in 1989 Romania. In other words, communism. The main character, Christian, has dreams of becoming a writer, but of course the Romanians are bound by rules as well as force. Christian is blackmailed by the secret police into becoming an informer, which leaves him with two options. Betray everyone he loves, or use this opportunity to undermine the regime. When the opportunity to fight for change arises, he eagerly takes it. But, as the synopsis asks, what is the cost of freedom? This book is written by the same author who wrote Salt to the Sea, which I have heard a few good things about. I also haven't really encountered a lot of stories that are set in Soviet-era Europe, much less ones that are set in Romania specifically, so this should be very interesting. Bonus points if there's betrayal. Next up is Crossings by Alex Landregan. Help me. As I was saying, this is a fiction novel set during World War II, right before the occupation of Paris. A bookbinder stumbles across a manuscript called Crossings with three narratives. A ghost story penned for an illiterate girl, a noir romance about an exiled man who falls in love with a cursed storyteller, and the story of a woman-turned-monarch whose life has spanned 7 generations. This story can be read in one of two ways, either straight through, like a regular book, or in an alternate chapter sequence. So let's say you start with chapter 1 and then go to chapter 6 and then chapter 2 or something. Knowing me, though, I'm probably just gonna plow straight through because rules are for fools. So, I did mention this once in passing on the channel before, but I'll say it again. My favorite genre is fantasy, but my favorite book is actually not fantasy. It's fiction. And that book is Number 9 Dream by David Mitchell. It's about a boy who searches for his absent father and gets caught up in society's underbelly in the process. And it's this wheel. Help. Anyway, it's this wild ride, weird dream-like narrative, both literally and figuratively. The reason I mention all of this is because ever since reading Number 9 Dream, I tend to find myself looking for stories that will give me the same kind of feeling. Bonus points if there are existential-type narratives with scenes that are best left to interpretation. Crossings is probably nothing like that, but I am still very interested in this book either way. Next up is The Witches of New York by Amy McKay. This is a historical fantasy, I want to say, set in New York in 1880, and follows two witches who cater to the high-class ladies of Manhattan society, specializing in palmistry, potions, and the secrets of their clients. A young woman shows up at their tea shop seeking employment, and she can see and hear things that no one else can. When the woman disappears, the two witches begin searching for her, but in the process are confronted by accusations and specters from their own pasts. Tea shops? Witches? 19th century New York? I would like 5 of these, please and thank you. Anyway, this was a bit of an impulse buy. It wasn't really on my radar until I encountered it in the bookstore, but as someone with a fascination towards supernatural things and the like, I couldn't resist. Also, tea shops. And then we have Voidbreaker by David Dalglish. This is the third and final book in the Keeper's trilogy. It's also the shortest entry in the series. This is a fantasy trilogy chronicling the resurgence of magic after a centuries-long absence. There's bird creatures, toxic black goop, giant man-eating owls, other terrifying abominations. I'm not sure how much else I can say about this series without dropping spoilers, especially since it's the last book. The world building in this is very fascinating. You have a trio of goddesses and a group of dragons and other magical beings that are all inextricably linked to each other. Again, no spoilers. I have enjoyed the series so far, and I am interested to see how it ends. Also, if anything happens to Tommy or Jacaranda, there will be problems. Next up is The Red and the Black by Stendhal. This is a historical psychological novel that was published in 1830 in 2 volumes, and tells the story of Julien Sorel, an intelligent man from a poor family who sets out to conquer the world, but gets tangled up in the political machinations of people who want power. If you couldn't tell, I was about to say poor man from an intelligent family for the 3rd time in a row while filming this scene. We love brain farts in this house. This is supposedly a satire of early 19th century French society, accusing both the Catholic clergy and the aristocracy of both hypocrisy and materialism. And as I'm sure most of you probably know, roasting the aristocracy was very much in vogue at the time. The Red and the Black has been on my radar for a couple of years, or rather, I slept on it for a couple of years, but it's always lingered in the back of my mind, going, hey. You should read me. And now I have once again, as I usually do, gave in to temptation. I'm not sure what else there is to say, but the French Revolution and the general vicinity of that era is another period of time that has always fascinated me. I'm probably straying off topic here, but we're talking about the lower class stepping on an entitled and privileged upper sect of society for like 3 decades straight. So if there are any allusions to that, then that will be a bonus. Next up is The Maid by Anita Prose. This is a standalone mystery novel following a hotel maid who has trouble with social skills and reading other people's intentions. In spite of the fact that she has to navigate the labyrinthine 10,000-piece jigsaw puzzle hellhole that is society by herself, she delights in her work as a hotel maid, and it helps that she has a particular interest in cleaning and proper etiquette. When she enters the room of a very wealthy man who's been yeeted, she finds herself the prime suspect in the case. But with the help of a few friends, she begins to search for clues as to what really happened. So this is supposed to be a locked room murder mystery, and has some connection to the human heart theme going on, which, yes, please. Also, the main character supposedly has trouble with social cues, and adapting to the standards of society, and reading other people's intentions, and supposedly likes cleaning the way I like art. Hello, literally me. As with several other books on here, I've seen this make the rounds on BookTube, and that's actually how it caught my interest, so I'm hoping this is good.